If you pay attention to empty space instead of paying attention to the little that's there in the empty space, and talk about that, but acknowledge, be aware of the empty space, which you can only do through the empty space within yourself. To be aware of the empty space, either the space in the music or the space in the painting, the emptiness there, to acknowledge it, to be aware of it, is through that within yourself, never through thought. Because the empty space is the formless, thought is form. And the formless is your essence identity. And then of course you have a temporary form identity. Physical, psychological form. But only knowing yourself as the form identity is bondage, is ignorance, is delusion, no matter how clever the form identity is, no matter how much knowledge the form identity has, no matter how many experiences the form identity has accumulated and identifies with as me. It is ignorance only to know yourself as the form. Physical body, mental form, psychological form of me, the mind-made image, me. And then, in the truest sense of the word, you don't know who you are. And who you think you are is an illusory entity. And because it's illusory, it's never at ease. You can never be yourself through the illusory entity. And then the illusory entity seeks, because it knows its own incompleteness and lack, and then it seeks to strengthen the illusion. It seeks to add more to the illusion, believing by adding more to the illusion, finally you arrive at something substantial and true and permanent and lasting, beyond decay. And you can never find it, because you don't know yourself as the formless. So we are here to know ourselves as the formless. And in any situation, as you move about this world, which is the world of form, the world will exert its pull upon you. In any interaction with another human being, the question is there space in the interaction? Or is the interaction entirely through form, mind? And I'm sometimes surprised, sometimes people who are already able to allow that stillness that is intrinsically one with the formless to arise. When they get challenged by the world, they get totally drawn into whatever form the challenge takes and the reaction takes. They get immediately lost and believe that something out here, or in their minds, which is also out here, they believe that something out here matters is vitally important. And so the world seduces you, that includes of course the mind, the world seduces you into believing that this matters absolutely and you must give me your total attention. And so you get lost in your reaction, which is also a form, a conditioned form, and you are totally in it. And then you are talking to someone. It's very serious, very serious. You must listen to me. This is what happened, and now what are we going to do about it? Or there's fear. Oh my God, what's going to? This is right. It's all. Your whole self is drawn into space is lost, and all you have is form. So that means you get lost completely in the form. And this is when the whole civilization is lost in that. When you listen to the news, there's no sense of space. The newsreader is very serious and reads out all these things that matter so much, and everything is very problematic, because if it's not problematic, it doesn't reach the news. It doesn't need to be deep or meaningful or whatever. No, it needs to be problematic. There must be something here that is news. So those people who are themselves lost in form, they select the news for you, and then it's presented as it matters. These problems are so important, and the potentially redeeming dimension, redemptive, redeeming, they don't know it. There's no space around it whatsoever. So you get seduced by the world into believing that that's all there is, and then the world becomes more important to you than God. To use theistic language, you might say, no, all I want is God realization, whatever, liberation, self-realization. All I really want is that. And 5 minutes later, what you really want is this situation matters absolutely. You get drawn into that, and then, so the question is, when you say, I want God, self-realization, it's true. When you say it, it's true. But 5 minutes later, you don't want it anymore. You want the world. Because to say I want God means I'm willing to enter the surrendered state of consciousness. No, I'm willing to enter surrender. And nothing else matters. It's also saying I want peace. And that is the only true thing that I want is peace. And a little later the world comes in, and then you want something else. In the text called The Course in Miracles, which was a channeled teaching, there are the beautiful lines. I want the peace of God. to say these words means nothing, is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. Nobody can mean these words and not be healed, which means, of course, not be whole, not be yourself, to truly want it. So we have the two. When you are not in the state of surrender, people say, I can't surrender, I can't. Is it that you can't, or that you're not willing? You have to look, there are two perspectives on the same thing. I'm not able, or perhaps if you look closely, there's something in you that doesn't want to surrender, that wants the non-peace. And to see that there is a movement in you that is very deep, that is true, that wants realization, wants peace. There's another movement in you that does not want it, and that can very easily obscure the deeper essence within yourself that wants peace. It's important to realize that there is a conditioned movement in you that wants problems and conflict rather than peace. Once you know it, it's fine, and once you can see it even as it comes up and operates, and that may include, of course, the pain body, but it is a conditioned mind movement that is one with the egoic sense of self, which periodically and very frequently needs to enter the state of conflict to sustain itself. The mind-made egoic self cannot live for very long without entering conflict and inhabiting a world of problems. It needs to create that to sustain itself. If you don't know that, you get lost in that compulsive need, which could also be called, in humans, the addiction to suffering in humans. And you need to see it within yourself, that is there, and it's not personal. If you think it's a personal problem of mine, then you get trapped even more deeply. The addiction to suffering, the need for conflict is unconscious, and it is how that separate identity, that is mine, the egoic identity, keeps its boundaries intact. The boundaries between me and all those others, all those out there, other people, my enemies in the form of people or situations or places, or this moment. So occasionally you get a relief, and then for a little while you are, and then the need, the addiction to suffering comes back, and when you don't know it, you believe that the world around you is making you suffer, is doing it to you. And that is the essence of unconsciousness. You then believe that the world is basically out to put obstacles in your path. This is how most people experience life and the universe. It seems like I can never be at peace for long, and suddenly the world putting obstacles in my, it's happening again. God, why does it always have to happen to me? And then you react. So it looks as if the world were doing it to you. And you don't realize that you that need comes from within. That's already dysfunctional, it's normal, and it's not personal. Then you take the dysfunction a little bit further, and then we can see that it's actually insane. The belief that the world is doing something to me becomes then paranoia or paranoid schizophrenia. And when you take it just a little bit further, then you can see, oh, it's actually quite mad. But even before it's diagnosed as paranoia, it's already mad. And so if you're diagnosed with paranoia, then you can tell yourself, just because you have paranoia doesn't mean they're not out to get you. So it is liberation already, it is liberating to see in oneself that movement that we could call the addiction to suffering, the need for conflict, to see it. That's already, you're becoming free in seeing it in yourself, because the seeing, what you are seeing is the conditioned. That which sees the conditioned is the unconditioned that just looks. And so you can see in your life how periodically, maybe once or twice or 3 times a day, or who knows what frequency, that comes in. And then any situation will do, and certain situations bring it up even more, that need. Many people coming here to a strange environment. India is challenging. So it is, you can watch what comes up, all the reactivity, the reactive patterns that come up, that bring a heaviness to something that is just a situation out there, and the reactivity flows in and becomes very heavy. The condition that is simply a condition becomes heavy through the reactivity. So that's important to know, and so all that implies there's no space when that happens. You get drawn totally into form, because when you react against something, you react against some form which strengthens your own form identity. That's the form identity loves its reactivity. So in any interaction, in any situation, the question is, are you lost in that situation? Which means lost in the mind formations, the reaction, the mind stream, the words that are coming out of your mouth.